Have you ever stopped to think about how the price of your morning coffee stays, well, pretty much the same even when the global markets are going absolutely haywire? The answer is this really fascinating high-stakes financial strategy called hedging. So let's pull back the curtain on this invisible world that, believe it or not, keeps our entire global food system from falling apart. All right, to really get this, you have to start right here with this one core idea. See, agricultural businesses are walking on a razor's edge. We are talking about making fractions of a penny on like millions and millions of bushels of grain. It's a game of massive volume, which means even a tiny, unexpected price swing can completely wipe out a company's profit for the year. It's huge scale, and with that scale comes just massive, massive risk. So in this world, you've basically got two ways of thinking. You've got the speculator, right? They're the gambler, betting on which way prices are going to go. But then you have the merchant, the person actually moving the physical food around the globe. And they just can't afford to gamble like that. Instead, they adopt what's called the merchant mindset. Their goal isn't to guess the market, it's to lock in and protect their profit margin no matter what the market does. And that is the very soul of hedging.
Okay, so if you're going to build a defense, you first have to know what you're up against. And in the world of agriculture, the threats are, well, they're everywhere. And a lot of them are these silent killers hiding in plain sight. First up, you've got the one everyone thinks of, flat price risk. This is the obvious one. You buy 1 million bushels of corn, and the very next day, the price of corn just tanks. It's simple, it's direct, and it can be absolutely catastrophic. This is kind of the most visible enemy on the battlefield. But then there's this other risk, and they call it the silent killer, basis risk. Now, get this. This isn't about the overall price of corn going up or down. No, it's about the gap between the big benchmark price, on an exchange in Chicago, and the actual cash price you get at your local grain elevator. Think of it like the difference in gas prices between a huge city and a tiny rural town. You expect there to be a gap, but what if that gap suddenly unexpectedly doubles overnight? That alone can destroy your entire profit margin, even if the main price of corn didn't move an inch. It's sneaky and it's dangerous.
And listen, it doesn't stop there. Not even close. You've got the risk of shipping delays, of currencies fluctuating, the risk that your buyer just won't pay you. You've got grain that could spoil in a silo or a dozen other things that could go wrong. It's a literal army of risks, all marching directly against your bottom line. You can start to see why just hoping for the best isn't really a strategy, right?
So, how in the world do you fight an army of risks like that? Well, you need an arsenal, a whole toolkit of financial instruments designed specifically for this kind of battle. The two main weapons in your arsenal are futures and options. Now, a futures contract is an obligation. It's like a rigid, fixed-price contract that locks you in. An option, though, that's different. It's a right, but it's not an obligation. The best way to think about it is like an insurance policy. You pay a small fee, a premium, for protection against a really bad price move, but you can still totally benefit if the price moves in your favor. It gives you flexibility.
Let's make this real with a quick example. Imagine a grain merchant has a giant silo full of wheat. They're worried the price is going to fall before they can sell it all. So what do? They go and sell a futures contract, which is basically like pre-selling that wheat at today's price. Now, let's say the market price does fall. Yeah, their physical grain is now worth less. That's a loss. But their futures position, the one where they pre-sold, actually makes a profit. And here's the magic. The profit from the futures cancels out the loss on the physical grain. Their margin is protected. That's a simple hedge in action.
But here's the thing. Just having these tools, futures and options, it's not enough. Not by a long shot. The real difference between professional and an amateur is having a disciplined strategy. It's all about building a real hedging framework. And this is just so crucial. Handing someone a futures and options account without a framework, well, it's like giving a pilot the keys to a 747 with no flight plan.
It is far more likely to end in a crash than a safe landing.
You see, a professional framework is all about the details. It means you're meticulously matching your financial paper positions to your actual physical grain. It's about knowing when to place your hedges. It's about stress testing your plan against wild market scenarios to see where it breaks. And maybe most importantly, it's about having the team disciplined to stick to the plan and avoid emotional overtrading. It's a system, not just a series of random guesses.
So, when we pull all this together, what's the big idea? What's the core philosophy that really separates true professional hedging from just gambling? This quote right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? Hedging isn't about making risk disappear. That's impossible. It's about understanding it, measuring it, and then making a conscious, strategic decision to control it, instead of just blindly hoping it goes away. It's really the difference between being the casino and being the person at the slot machine.
And that's really the biggest thing I want you to take away from this. Professional agricultural traders aren't trying to be fortune tellers. They're not in the prediction business. They are in the risk management business. They use this whole financial toolkit not to guess where prices are going, but to build a fortress around their business, a fortress that ensures they can survive and even thrive, no matter which way the crazy winds of the market decide to blow. Which really just leaves you with one final thought to chew on. In a system as complicated and as unpredictable as our global food supply, maybe the riskiest possible strategy is to have no strategy at all. In a world full of risk, is just doing nothing the biggest gamble you can possibly take? Something to think about.